Hey guys, how you doing? Steve. Um, yeah, the real purpose of this video is to walk you through the syllabus, and we'll get right to that. But I actually kind of see this as another opportunity, which is to show you something that is now easily within your grasp, and I think very powerful as another kind of teaching technology, especially if you ever find yourself teaching large classes, although I'm using it with you guys, so really there's nothing specifically large class about that. And what I'm talking about is the ability to shoot short, well, I don't know how short this one will be, any length video quite easily, and to communicate with your students that way. I like using video mostly because they like watching video. And I mean, we're all like that, right? I could post a long walkthrough. Imagine, what I'm going to try to do in the syllabus. What I'm going to try to do in this video, I did with writing instead, and kind of walked you through everything in a long, extended document. Um, we're not big readers. We're not big, we're not keen on that. We like video. And there's also something, by the way, really odd about the idea of having the person, being able to see the person. So technically, I could have made this probably an audio track and just made it a podcast. And for many of you, that would have been perfectly fine. But for whatever reason that I can't quite totally wrap my head around, students really prefer to see the person talking. When we do lectures, we never do voiceover PowerPoints here at UT Scarborough. We just don't believe voiceover PowerPoints. Students have consistently told us they find them boring and hard to follow. We use, a full video capture of the classroom, and we do it in a way that doesn't constrain the professor at all, allows them to move around. In fact, why don't I just kind of give you a sense of that, because most of you guys have probably never seen it. So what I'm going to do, and notice how, this is the kind of cool thing you can do with this now. I'm using something called ScreenFlow, and there's about 3 5-minute videos, tutorials on YouTube on ScreenFlow. Once you watch those 3 videos, you are essentially an expert. You know all you need to know to do some kind of cool things. So let me just show you for a second something you probably don't normally see. Actually, I don't even have to go here. Let me just notice how I'm kind of flailing around in front of you. I've noticed that students don't mind people flailing around in front of them. Kind of makes it more immediate, like you're in the world, less polished. Sometimes, I'm a big Neil Young fan. One thing I love about Neil Young, or Jack White if you like, is the lack of polish. You can have your U2s, you can have your Pink Floyds, they're fantastic, everything's pristine, everything's what I might call overproduced. But there's something about just being real and authentic. And sometimes that means flailing around a little bit. So anyway, I'm going to take you to the web option website here, lectures. I'm going to go back to my fall 2013. This is a funny political thing we can talk about, but these are the lectures we capture on video and put online. And this is just one term, fall 2013. Notice that most of these lectures you can no longer get. Only students within the class can get. I don't know why faculty are so paranoid about sharing their lectures with the world. I am not, nor is Liz Page Gould. So her lectures are up there, my lectures are up there. We just share them with the world. But let's just go into a random lecture. And it's my fault the slides aren't available. That's another story. But normally you'd have the PowerPoint slides here, and then you could grab the lecture here. And I just want to give you a sense. I don't think you're going to be able to hear the computer audio unless it comes through loud enough for the microphone to catch it here. But I'm hoping you'll. Okay, it doesn't take this long. See, remember what I said about flailing around? There's something not quite right here. Why did Psych 1? I wanted to go to a different term. I don't know why that's doing what it's doing, but I'm going to flail around and go to fall 2014. Again, nobody shares but me. And let's just go to some random. So this is what's happening now, so I know these ones work. So some rah-rah, but let me just bring you right into the class.
Anthropologist
So this is how,
and paleontologist.
let me
Dig
shut
up
myself
bones,
up.
try to explain sort of evolution.
Okay, so I'm just shutting myself up. So, I mean, this is how we capture things. We normally, the slides that you're seeing in the background, we also have available here. They're available from my website as well. But there I am talking to my classroom. And so a person at the back is videotaping. And again, one of the reasons we like this is that it feels real. And it also, by the way, does not tempt us to reuse. We re-record this every year, so by not having all these high production values and doing all this stuff fancy, we're not tempted to like keep it forever and share it all the time. How did I get into this sidetrack? Oh, right. I'm just trying to give you a sense that video can be a very useful tool, either to deliver classes as you see happening here, or to deliver messages to your students, as I'm supposed to be doing now if I wasn't so sidetracked. Let's get to what I'm supposed to be doing, shall we? So this doesn't turn into one of my famous too long videos. All right, so here's what I want to do. So first of all, I did update the syllabus, and it is now, despite the title, which I should change, it is now the final version of the syllabus. And so really what I want to do here is just kind of walk you through it. Now that I got my head around the course, I want to make sure you got your head around the course. So let's just jump right into it. The first thing I want to highlight, by the way, is as I was going through this, so a lot of this first stuff I just stole from other people. You can do that. I usually don't do that. I only stole as much as I did this time because my life is completely and utterly out of control, and because this course has this weird vibe of being mine but not being mine, being part of the Wordsworth family. I guess. And so because I've never done this before, I wasn't sure how much I had to follow lockstep with what they did or how much freedom I had to do my own thing. And you mix that with time constraints and you just say, oh, show me what you do, and I'll riff off of that. So I've stolen most of these things. Now, this is the critical stuff for most of you guys, I think. And I talked to Kate about this to try to get a sense of what they were trying to accomplish with the assignments they were giving you and how tight I had to stay to timelines that other professors were using, etc., etc. And I ended up going with this. So basically you're going to have, I guess you could think of it as 4 main assignments. We're going to be creating and revising a syllabus. You are going to be both actually giving a practice teaching session at some point and peer assessing the practice sessions of others. You are going to prepare a statement of teaching philosophy, and just like the syllabus, we will have both a draft version and then a revision of that. In both of these cases, the syllabus and the teaching philosophy, thanks to your willingness, I have opted to use Peer Scholar, so I will be giving you all the details of that. I will be posting it at least a week before the assignment. This date, I'm now seeing is wrong. This should be Halloween. I guess, do we meet on Halloween or the 30th? I think we meet, right? Let me take a look. Yeah, the 30th. So I'm going to change this. This will say October 30th. But by a week before each assignment, I will give you very clear instructions online about how to log into Peer Scholar. And I'll probably post a video like this, just kind of walking you through what you're going to see and giving you a sense of that. So by the second assignment, it'll be old school for you, but for the first one, I always think it's really nice to familiarize students, especially if you're using new assessment processes for them, and Peer Scholar is certainly that. I think it's always really nice to show them what's involved, and especially showing them that it's no big deal. And also while you're doing that, to take the opportunity to highlight why you're asking them to do what you're doing. I am a huge fan of explaining to students your goals. So we talked about that actually with Sue's thing of these learning outcomes are one vehicle for you to use to show them that you're a thoughtful, caring instructor. And it's so important. When they feel like you actually care, that makes the class resonate. It's so important. And so any chance you get to show that, and another chance you get is, here's your assignment, and here's why I chose this assignment, and here's what I thought about when I chose the topic of that assignment. So, you probably picked something that you thought would provoke some thought or in some way encourage them to use some skill set. I think it's very good to show them your mindset going into that. And then, if they find it difficult, some assignment you give them, but you've said, I want to stimulate critical thought. I want to challenge you to be creative or something like that. Well, so then when they find it difficult, it's supposed to be difficult, and you've explained that. So I will do that for you guys before each of the Peer Scholar ones. So again, syllabus, giving a practice thing, and peer assessing others. Fantastic. Teaching philosophy be a sort of another thing very similar to the syllabus. And then, of course, participate in the classes. And then at the very end, write a short reflective piece on the sessions you found most valuable. I think the idea here is, in this last piece, is that you're doing this more sort of for us. This notion of what we call formative assessment, of getting good feedback and using that to improve, is one that we apply at two different levels when we care about teaching. One is we want our students to learn this process, and Peer Scholar is all about that, really teaching students how to use feedback to revise their work. But we as teachers have to do the same thing. And I think modeling that for our students is really good. So showing them not only some questionnaire that says, oh, I'd like to know what you guys thought of the course, but maybe even pointing out how previous students have shaped the course into what it is today, and you being very honest that the course as it is today is not how the course will necessarily be next year, that you view every course as a sort of organic entity, and that the students are helping, just as previous students have shaped the current students' experience, these students will be shaping subsequent students. Another way to show you care. So we care. We really do. And so I think that's what this last thing is about. Attendance is mandatory to receive your final certificate. If you'll be away, please let me know as soon as you can. So the vibe of all of this that I got from Kate is, this isn't about grades. It's not about how well you do things or not. It's about learning. And the reason they're kind of tight on that, I had a little discussion with her about this attendance thing. They say that this is very competitive to get in the course. There's a lot of people who want to be in the course that don't get in the course. And therefore, for those they do let in, they really want those students to try to get the most out of it. And so they expect those students to be attending very regularly. Ultimately, it's up to me, but their rule is that if you miss more than one class, then I can theoretically deny you a certificate. I'm going to stick with that rule for now, but I'll also say I'm open to reason. I know you guys have careers you're building, and so there are times when there are other things that are very important to do, but I will ask you to justify. If you're going to miss any more than one, then I really want to see a clear justification for why you're missing all of the ones you're missing. So let's say you're going to miss two, then why did you have to miss each of those two? If you can justify it, if you can rationalize it, then I'll be okay with it. All right? Cool. All right. So then, largely the rest of the syllabus, I think this is the stuff people wanted me to nail down. But just to go through it really quick, we've already kind of been through a lot of it. I'm not sure this is really what I gave you first lecture. Maybe not. You'll see I've pared this down, that whoever I stole this off was very good at sort of laying things out in very specific ways. I'm a little mixed on this. I agree that clarity is really good, but I also kind of agree that people aren't often ready to think about something until it's more proximal. So what I will tend to do is the pre-class activities, I'll tell you about them just before the next class. Here's what you should be reading, here's what you should be doing to prepare, if anything. Sometimes you will, sometimes you won't. So I won't list them all here, I will just, that expects you to keep consulting the syllabus all the time, and I like something that's a little more dynamic and interactive. So you'll see I've stripped out a lot of that stuff, and instead I'm just trying to give you a sense of what we're going to be talking about. Again, these first three weeks, we've kind of gone through some of this already. I thought Sue's session was great. I do want to clarify something. I think I've said this before, but I was not formally trained. I'm not an OISE kind of person. I was not formally trained in all the theory and terminology that's common in the educational world. And so I'm picking these things up as I go. And like everybody else, I sometimes pick things up wrong, especially for me because I interact so much with both the school system and the higher ed system. And those two systems talk about things really differently. So as Sue said it, learning outcomes or learning objectives are these statements of what a student should be able to do after experiencing some learning experience. And so therefore they can be far-ranging and all over the board, and very often they're pretty specific about very specific things the students will have learned. In the school system, they use that same term, learning outcomes, or well, they use so many of them, 21st century skills, transferable skills, yada yada. But it's a more general level thing where they talk about things like content and critical thinking and creative thinking and communication skills the way I did in my talk. Those are still learning outcomes, but in order to think of those two things, the way I talked about them, they're much more high level learning outcomes. And I find that very useful because then if I'm creating an assignment, I can think about my assignment and say, okay, I am provoking critical thought here, and I am expecting students to use their receptive communication skills to do this. So that general level helps me think about the learning experience that I'm giving students in those terms. Um, but the specific level, what Sue does, was also very helpful, I think, as shown. So there's a little bit of ambiguity how that terminology is used. I think Sue's being more formally correct, and I'm probably not being so formally correct. But hey, you're seeing these different ways people talk about these things. Okay, I never know which way to move things on a Mac sometimes. I think my Macs are different. So where am I now? Okay, vocabulary teaching, that's Sue. All right, so now here, let's kind of tee up the next little bit. So next class, and it was supposed to be the case that nobody started doing peer assessments of each other until after this class. But I've since learned that that's not necessarily true, that some of you may be doing that this week already. That's why I posted all those documents, a little bit of self-learning to go through that. But the idea was and is that next week, Megan Burnett from CTSI is going to come in and talk specifically about peer observation of teaching. So she's going to give you, as you've already seen online, a bunch of forms that you can use, sort of rubrics to evaluate each other. But she's also going to talk about it at a more theoretical level. And the idea is by the time you do this course, then, by the time you experience this lecture, you will be in good shape both to know, to kind of help you prepare your lecture, because you know what the people are going to be looking for when they assess you, and also help you assess others. Okay, so this was supposed to prepare you, and then thereafter those teaching sessions begin. All of which you schedule apparently directly with Woodward and Kate. So I'm not really part of that directly, which is fine. Kind of nice, I guess. Although it's weird. It's like there's a lot of cooks in this kitchen, but that's okay. I'm good with that. Trying to put my power-hungry side off. October 9th, draft of the syllabus is due. Again, you will have a much better idea of what that's about. And then we're going to talk a lot about assessment, which is really one of my favorite topics. So we're going to talk a bunch here. I may actually ask you to my AO1, my introductory psychology class, is using something called MTuner. We use that to both assess learning and to enhance learning. I might add you guys to one of the MTuners when it's active and have you write a test where you haven't studied. I don't think you have to study. That's sort of, yeah, you'll see. And so I think that that'll be a nice way to give you a sense of how you can test online in a very rich way. I'm also going to share with you some documents that we give the TAs when they generate the questions that will show you how Bloom's taxonomy is translated to the creation of effective multiple choice testing. I want to go beyond multiple choice, and I will. So I'll show you some other assessment. I'm going to give you an example of active learning that involves assessment, and of course by now you will know Peer Scholar inside and out, so we might talk about some other assessment related issues. Yeah, so that's October 9th. Going the wrong way again. October 16th, teaching with technology. So this is where I'm going to just hit a whole bunch of things. Now we've been hitting technology all through, but here let's focus on a few of these things. Let's talk about some of the issues people want to talk about, like how things like social networking tools, Facebook, Twitter, how you can use those effectively in teaching. Wikipedia, I'll talk about a little bit. There's a funny story there. If you guys want to prepare, Google Joordens Wikipedia. You'll see all sorts of funny stuff. It's the only time I've ever had press from all over the world chasing after me. Yeah, all kinds of neat things there to get your mind thinking about how technology can help you. This will be, these two will be sort of related in the sense that the 23rd, we're going to talk about teaching large classes. And here I'm going to give you a little bit of both the politics and the strategies. I want to give you a sense of why I think there's value to good, passionate teachers, and you guys all feel like that's what you're going to be. Them kind of embracing large classes. I think you have, if what you get out of teaching is the ability to stimulate and influence young minds, then you can do it at a scale in a large class, and I think you can still do it well. So I'm going to kind of give you a little bit of my soapbox, and it'll flow through nicely with the technology thing. All right. Sorry, I keep bouncing around. And then we're going to have a few more presentations from others. So October 30th, we're going to all dress up for class, right? And have Lisa Chambers and Jennifer Esmail come in and tell us about experiential learning, service learning. Sue hit that a little bit the other day, but the notion of having students do learning in a context that really has authenticity, has relevance. So we'll talk about all that. There's a bunch of cool things in there that we can hit on, so that's cool. November 6th, online learning, so that'll be myself and Avi Hyman, who's in charge of a lot of our tech at U of T. Interesting guy. And notice, drafts of teaching. I haven't been highlighting those, but they're all the same dates as up there. November 13th, we're going to talk about universal instructional design, and Tanya Lewis will be doing most of that. So I'm imagining here Tanya speaking, doing her thing, and then us mostly discussing stuff that's come up from there. November 20th, managing challenging students. I'm looking forward to this one. I don't have much idea what to expect, but Cheryl Shook has the full 2 hours. And here's one where I did include some of the pre-class activities. I will try to remind you of these on the Blackboard page, but I thought I'd put them here in case you wanted to start thinking about it. So I left those there, that one. And then November 27th, sad day, it'll be our last day together. All that horrible stuff. What I want to do on November 27th is think more concretely about you representing yourself as a teacher going forward. I want to talk to you a little bit about the politics, teaching stream versus research streams, how teaching excellence is actually measured and rewarded in these various streams, how you can represent yourself really well. I think I might share with you at this point, I was lucky enough to be nominated for something called a 3M Teaching Fellow, which is a national teaching award. It would be a great honor if I get it. I was nominated last year and didn't get it, so I'm not too hopeful. But the interesting thing about that is the document they ask you to put together. because it discriminates between these various, like teaching philosophy versus teaching strategies versus whatever. So I found it quite challenging to fill these out and hit those. So I might share with you the kind of stuff I did, but we'll just talk about that all in that situation. This is also when your reflective piece is due. All right, that's the syllabus. So I hope that's all clear now. If it's not, feel free to ask questions. This is the reference that the same reference section we had all along. I haven't changed that. Alrighty, cool. I think I'm on top of things. Finally, in this course, which is great. Have a great weekend, guys, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.